But what we haven't heard when we're talking about cloud computing is how green it is and kind of what makes it a green technology versus any other technology out there. And one of the big things about cloud computing is not only is it a green technology itself, but it also incentivizes the use of other green technologies in itself. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, Forrester defines cloud, especially infrastructure as a service cloud, as a pool of highly scalable, abstracted infrastructure capable of hosting end customer applications that is built by consumption. So a pool of resources that is shared by a number of users that can host these applications, and it is then billed by consumption, which is incredibly important in its model. What specifically makes it a green technology is this multi-tenancy, the ability for them to drive up utilization rates from their diverse customer pool and be able to have utilization rates, average sustained utilization rates, around 60%, whereas in most successful enterprises, data centers, it's much more around 30 or 40% today. So we are seeing, even from the utilization level, much more efficient environment. But what's also interesting is that it also incentivizes the use of other green technologies and practices. So from the vendor standpoint, their profit depends upon running a data center as efficiently as possible. So 38% of all energy use within the data center is used by servers. So there's already been a push over the last 10 years for server virtualization and consolidation. A number of companies have already started adopting server virtualization. If we look at the numbers to the left column here, almost 90% of companies have adopted some sort of server virtualization. And that's enterprises and SMBs globally. If we look more closely at that statistic, most of them haven't really started maturing their environment to higher utilization rates. And over the next few years, they're going to be really still focusing on increasing their server virtualization maturity, which is a big piece of cloud computing. That is one of the key components. So earlier today, in one of the sessions, they mentioned that virtualization does not equal cloud computing. It sure is an important component of cloud computing, and it's the first step towards having a cloud environment. Why isn't cloud green across the board? So looking at cloud, there's certain technologies, if we click back, that vendors care about when it comes down to it. They are financially incentivized to take into consideration certain green technologies. Server virtualization directly pays out into their revenue. Automation software directly leads to their profit. Same thing with multi-tenancy. But locating their data centers in an efficient location where they're going to be able to use renewable resources isn't necessarily going to directly pay out into their pocket. And so they are less concerned with those green aspects. So just as today when you're hearing a lot about cloud computing, you very rarely hear about the green options and the green benefits of cloud. Vendors are not focused on the green benefits of cloud. Inherently, it's built into the system where they use a lot of these green technologies in order to reduce their data center costs. It's not something that they're necessarily to the front of their mind and they're thinking about. So some of the other, there's some gray area where they're not, where there's green technologies and green practices that they're not engaging in. So 2 recommendations I want you to take away today is joining your green IT and cloud computing initiatives. So green IT is driven by financial incentives. For the most part, in the IT world, it's really hard to get something approved that's a green initiative unless there's direct financial savings that go along with it. With cloud computing, this can definitely provide some financial savings that go along with it. So there's a number of case studies that exist where there's been cost savings associated with either locating your disaster recovery site or having a website that has varying levels of traffic use and the actual savings that you can have from that. There's also a lot of hype around cloud right now. So I know on the Forrester side, we've talked to a lot of members from IT that said that they have a lot of pressure from their executives coming back from conferences like this, asking them what their cloud strategy is for the year. If there's a big push for cloud within your enterprise, you can have green IT kind of piggyback on the efforts towards that and kind of work with that since cloud computing incorporates a lot of green technologies.